Have you ever wondered what happens when patience runs dry and pettiness takes the wheel? In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, where manicured lawns and friendly ways were the norm, Karen Mitchell was the storm cloud that nobody invited. Her face, round and perpetually twisted into a scowl, seemed to carry the weight of every grievance she'd ever held. She wasn't just heavy in stature. Her presence was a burden, her voice a grating bark that echoed down the street. Karen lived in the oversized house at the corner, her gleaming black SUV parked wherever she pleased, often right in front of my garage. It started innocently enough. One crisp autumn morning, I stepped outside to find her SUV blocking my driveway. My old pickup, Betsy, was trapped, and I was late for work at the hardware store. I knocked on Karen's door, heart pounding, hoping for a quick resolution. She answered in a stained tracksuit, her eyes narrowing like I'd interrupted her royal decree. "What do you want, Tom?" she snapped, as if I were the one trespassing. "Your car's blocking my garage," I said, keeping my tone polite. "Could you move it?" She huffed, her jowls quivering. "I'll move it when I'm ready. I've got important errands, and this spot's convenient." The door slammed shut before I could respond. I stood there, stunned, as the neighborhood woke up around mekids biking to school, joggers nodding hello. Nobody else seemed to notice Karen's tyranny, or maybe they were just used to it. For weeks, it continued. Karen's SUV became a fixture, parked at odd angles, sometimes taking up half the street. I'd leave notes under her wipers, polite at first, then sharper. "Please respect your neighbors. This is my property." She ignored them, or worse, crumpled them up and tossed them onto my lawn. My wife, Lila, urged me to let it go. "She's just lonely," Lila said, her voice soft with pity. "Maybe she's acting out because she's hurting." But I wasn't so forgiving. Karen's entitlement gnawed at me, a splinter under my skin. One night, after another long day at the store, I came home to find her SUV not just blocking my garage, but parked so close I couldn't even squeeze Betsy out. My temper flared. I banged on Karen's door, but the lights were off. She wasn't home. I stood in the dark, staring at that hulking vehicle, its chrome grille smirking at me. That's when the idea hid a ridiculous, glorious idea born of frustration and a touch of spite. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I hauled bricks from the shed, leftovers from a patio project. By dawn, I'd built a low wall around Karen's SUV, 3 bricks high, boxing it in on all sides. It wasn't tall enough to trap her forever, but it was enough to make her sweat. I dusted my hands, admired my work, and left for the store with a grin. The fallout was immediate. Karen's screech woke the neighborhood at 7 a.m. "Who did this?" she bellowed, standing in her driveway, hands on hips, her face redder than a ripe tomato. Neighbors peeked out, some smirking, others whispering. I watched from my porch, sipping coffee, feigning innocence. Karen's eyes locked on me. "You," she shrieked, storming over. "You think this is funny, Tom? I'll have you arrested." "For what?" I asked, calm as could be. "Building on my own property. Check the property line, Karen. Your car's on my land." She sputtered, her words tripping over her rage. "This is vandalism. I'll sue." "Go ahead," I said, turning back inside. "But move your car first." The neighborhood buzzed. Old Mr. Jenkins, who'd lived on Willow Creek for 40 years, shuffled over later that day, his cane tapping the pavement. "Never liked her," he confided, his eyes twinkling. "She yelled at my dog for barking once." "Good on you, Tom." But not everyone approved. Mrs. Carter, the HOA president, left a stern voicemail about community harmony and escalating tensions. Lila, too, was uneasy. "This isn't you," she said, her brow furrowed. "You're better than this." I wasn't so sure. Karen's SUV stayed put for 2 days, trapped by my wall. She called a tow truck, but the driver refused to cross my property line without legal clearance. She raged, she threatened, she even called the cops, who showed up, took one look, and told her it was a civil matter. "Move your car, ma'am," one officer said, barely hiding his amusement. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. On the third day, a kid showed up at my door scrawny, maybe 16, with acne and a nervous twitch. "Mr. Tom," he said, clutching a crumpled envelope. "I'm Ethan, Karen's nephew. She's not okay." He handed me the envelope. Inside was a letter, scrawled in shaky handwriting. It was from Karen, but not the Karen I knew. It was raw, vulnerable, almost broken. "I know I've been awful," it read. "I'm sorry. My husband left me last year, and I've been taking it out on everyone. I didn't mean to make your life hell. Please, just let me move my car. I'll stay out of your way." I stood there, the letter heavy in my hands. Ethan fidgeted, avoiding my eyes. "She's been crying a lot," he mumbled. "She doesn't have anyone else." For the first time, I saw Karen not as a monster, but as a person flawed, hurting, human. My wall, my petty victory, suddenly felt like a punch I shouldn't have thrown. I grabbed my sledgehammer and went outside. Ethan followed, silent. The neighbors watched as I smashed down the brick wall, piece by piece, the clatter echoing like my own regrets. Karen appeared, her face puffy, her usual scowl replaced by something softer, shame, maybe, or relief. She didn't say a word, just got in her SUV and drove away, careful not to block my garage. I thought that was the end of it. But Karen's absence left a strange void. Her house stayed dark, her SUV rarely seen. Ethan came by a week later, his eyes red. "She's moving," he said. "Couldn't afford the house anymore. She's going to live with my mom in Ohio." He paused, then added, "She told me to say thank you for taking down the wall." I didn't know what to say. Guilt gnawed at me. Had my stunt pushed her over the edge? Or was it just the final straw in a life already crumbling? I tried to talk to Lila about it, but she just squeezed my hand. "You didn't know," she said. "You did what you thought was right." Months passed. Willow Creek settled back into its rhythm, but it wasn't the same. Karen's house sold to a young couple with a toddler, their laughter filling the street where her shouts once rang. I saw Ethan one last time, at the hardware store, buying paint for his mom's place. "She's better now," he said, unprompted. Not so angry. "She's even volunteering at a shelter." I nodded, unsure if I felt absolved or worse. My brick wall had been a petty act of defiance, a way to reclaim my space from Karen's chaos. But it had also laid bare her pain, her isolation, and my own capacity for cruelty. I'd won the battle, but at what cost? The neighborhood was quieter without her, but the silence carried a weight I hadn't expected. Sometimes, late at night, I'd look out at my garage, now free of obstructions, and wonder if I'd been the villain in her story. Maybe we both were two stubborn souls clashing in a world that didn't care. I'd built a wall to trap her, but in the end, it was Karen who'd been trapped all along, by her own demons, her own losses. And me? I was left with a clear driveway and a heart full of questions. "Yandy,"